All right, Doug, here we are in, in this rack land. Tell me all about it.
Well, this is kind of an interesting rig, when we get to the rack, because when we had to go to Europe on the last leg, I had to fly with all the gear, and all of Steve's rig was mounted in this enormous shock-mounted rack that weighed 200 pounds. There was no way it was going to go on an airplane, you know? So I decided to split the rig up in 3 sections with these really great SKB racks. They're basically frames of a rack that then go into these kind of shock-mounted Pelican-style cases. So, they get packed up at night and they're super safe, whether I take them on a plane or on the bus. And the first rack, which is this 6-space one, is kind of the main chunk of the rig. The guitar, I should probably say the signal, he goes into a wah-wah Dunlop 95Q, and then it goes into this Gemini, which is his signature Ibanez distortion pedal. And then that goes into a whammy, the whammy DT, and then it goes into the Synergy. And this is such a great system because it's very low noise, it's very practical. I've never had a single problem with anything, nothing's ever really gone wrong with the Synergies, which is worth a lot.
Yeah.
And he's got 4 modules on here, 2 Vai modules. This top left one is the main one that he kind of lives in. And it's got, kind of his legacy sound,
Sure.
But I believe him and Dave Friedman tweaked it a bit, when they designed this one. And he's got a second one that's kind of more or less tuned for different guitars, it's a little lower gain. And then he's got 2 of the Bassman or B-Man style ones. So these utilize really great kind of 70s sounding, broken up, crunchy tube amp sounds and really fantastic, sparkly, clean sounds. And this comes out into the Axe effects, which is only used for delays, reverbs, choruses. The only time the Axe effects is used for modeling in this rig is with the Hydra, the bass and the 12-string and the harp. But his normal guitar tone, there's no modeling. So once it comes out of the Axe effects, it comes out in stereo, and that goes into these really great Fryette LX2s, which are these single space, tube power amps that just kick ass. We've used a few different ones. Synergy makes some really good ones. Fryette makes some larger ones that are also great. But the reason we're using these is because 2 reasons. One, it's got this great feature where even when you're using it in stereo, it's just one volume control. So of course you always want left and right to be, very level, very equal. And that's what you accomplish with this. Nothing gets bumped accidentally. And
sure.
But also, they're pretty light. They're still, big dog tube amps, but I can take 2 of them in a small, 2-space rack, and it doesn't weigh too much to take it on a plane, and there's no tonal compromise. They're on par with anything that's great out there. And this section of the rack, it's all just kind of Hydra stuff. These are the brains that I had talked about earlier. And there's a power conditioner. But there's this Roland drum module, which has some sounds loaded in it that the little MIDI triggers on the Hydra hit.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple goofy ones that are in there. And there's some other stuff tucked away too, like DIs. It's all Hydra stuff. But once it leaves the power amps, it goes into these Carvin 412 cabinets, which are on each side of the stage. And they have vintage 30s. That's Steve's favorite speaker.
Yeah.
And we use 57s to mic them up on stage.
It's interesting because when I saw the Fractal, I was a little disappointed because he's always been such an amp guy. But ultimately, it is tube amps, and it's
tube. This
probably you're hearing tube amps through those cabs.
Yeah, it looks deceiving because you look at this rig and you think, oh, modeling, but no, it's all tube preamps, tube power amps. Yeah. It's just because everything's so
At first I was a little bothered, but now I'm cool with it. Yeah, tube amps.
The day he switches to just using modeling, you'll open your window and you'll see pigs flying.
Yeah, right. When it's all in ears, no cabinets.
Speaking of in ears, you know, he uses ears on stage, you know, night to night. But most nights, he uses just cotton in his ears. He just wants to hear the stage. I've got these cool little 112 wedge-shaped guitar cabinets that you can see.
Oh, that's cool.
And they've got vintage 30s. That's why there's two power amps. You know, one's for the 412s and one's for the wedges. And it's an awesome window to stand in.
Oh, I bet. Oh, you got 812s behind you and 2 in front of you.
Yeah, and all in stereo, so you get the the delays, the choruses. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And the pedal board up there.
Pedal board's very simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I am shocked at how just clean and
I'd like it to
easy
be clean.
it is.
Yeah, the board, you know, the left side, I built this board so it splits in half. It goes in these 2 smaller cases.
Good idea.
Just, again, so when we fly, you know, you're not taking this thing that the airline's going to decline.
Right.
And so, I know it's kind of out of frame, but I can just kind of mention, you know, the left side, you know, the wah-wah, Gemini, whammy DT. There's a little foot switch to turn the fan on and off.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. And we use these great Chalks power supplies. They're called DC7s.
Sure.
Super noiseless, and
Great
I've
for
never had one
European
fail.
travel as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they convert automatically.
Yeah.
There's a little Lely switcher, which is just for the Hydra. It just is the difference between his normal guitar going into the signal path and the Hydra. So I only have to hit that once during the show when I bring the Hydra out. And the other side, which is the right side, there's a Mastermind LT foot switch that controls all the different preamps. So he's got his different kind of amp channels that he can go to. Yeah. And right under that's an FC12. So that controls the fractal. And off stage, I have another FC12 that I use because some of the songs are triggered with the playback rig. There's MIDI notes, you know, the stuff happens automatically. But there are certain songs where I kind of have to do it because you don't know, you know, night to night he might hit a note differently in a different spot of the song, or he wants to improvise and go longer.
Okay, see, that's what I'm curious about, because it seems like the set is set, and and how much does he stretch with that?
Not much.
Yeah,
you know,
because he seems like a real composer that
he is.
Wants to play what he's playing what he's playing for a reason. He's not just like winging it.
He builds beautiful melodies, and he's not going to bullshit around and improvise over them. Yeah. So I mean, the set list, maybe 1 or 2 songs will change on a tour if he wants to change it up. Yeah. You know, there was one show in South America where we couldn't take the Hydra, and we did a song called Valorum, which is from his Story of Light album. And that was cool, you know, just having a different song thrown in there. Yeah. But it stays very consistent, and like I said, some of the songs are programmed. Other ones, you know, I change the presets for them. And then there's just a volume pedal. It's just hooked up to the fractal. That's the secret weapon of the rig because, you know, Steve doesn't use noise gates. He doesn't like noise gates. He doesn't like what they do to the signal when you're playing. Even when you take a noise gate, even the best ones in the world, we've tried them.
It's gonna
I mean, he can't play Tender Surrender with a noise gate.
Right,
you know?
right, because that nuance.
Yeah, it totally
lost.
cuts you off. It's like trying to have a conversation with someone and they butt in before you make your point.
Yeah.
So the volume pedal's great because he finishes the song, or if he wants to talk during a rehearsal, just poop, no noise.
Right. Yeah, could you imagine, like, back in Whitesnake, like, how loud that had to have been, right?
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, man, it's, this has been really interesting. I've been so curious about it. It's different than I imagined, but
cool.
Very cool.
It's a great rig. You know, we have a beautiful stage every day, the big oriental rug.
Yeah, love it.
You know, I like things to be very neat and consistent.
Seems very civilized.
Yeah, you know, and we roll into certain venues, and sometimes you get a very small stage, sometimes you got a lot of space.
Yeah.
And I just like it to be very familiar for him when he walks on the stage every night.
Yeah.